Hi, my name is Mike Smith. Welcome to episode 29 of Mike Smith's Brain, where we answer questions from you guys, IT professionals from mid-sized businesses. So today, if you have PRI for your voice services, you're gonna love this episode because Josh Chamois and I are going to tell you 3 different tips on how to fail over your PRI, your ISDN PRI phone service to make sure you have 100% uptime as much as you possibly can. So, with that, let's get to it.
Aerocom drastically reduces the amount of time it takes for IT professionals to find the best telecom and cloud solutions for their business. Our president, Mike Smith, works with over 150 providers. You can pick his brain to find the most beneficial technology and best provider for your business.
The easiest way to auto failover a PRI is through digital trunk overflow, or also known as DTO. There's a couple other names to this type of functionality, which are trunk group call forwarding or auto failover PRI. So how does this work? So in advance, you would designate a phone line to back up your PRI. In the event that your PRI was unavailable or your calls were coming in as busy, all traffic can be rerouted to that secondary line that you initiate. The most commonly used line to back up a PRI or PRI trunk group would be a POTS line. POTS lines don't require electricity, which makes them valuable in the case of a power outage. They would still be able to function. So the upsides to this are, it's a tried and true disaster recovery solution. It's an inexpensive option at only around $20 per month. And lastly, you can use it on local phone numbers or DIDs. The downsides of this type of solution are your call volume would drop from 23 to 4 if you had 4 POTS lines to back up your PRI. Another downside is that not all providers offer this solution. Per public utility rules, you have to use a phone number to back up your PRI that is within your major metropolitan area. And you lose your DID routing because your DIDs would be forwarded to one specific line.
Okay, so the second way to fail over your ISDN PRI phone service is a little bit creative and a little bit complicated. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw up a graphic right here so you can kind of follow along visually as I describe it. So this method is something that we came up with here at Aerocom around 10 years ago when we ran into a company that was using ISDN PRI phone service for their call center. Now, as you know, a call center is a company where all their business is running over the phone. So they obviously do not want to have any chance of their voice going down. So what we did as agents, being able to sell every major telecom service provider, is we came up with a way for them to use multiple providers for their ISDN PRI phone service. So what we did is we split up their PRIs between one provider for their incoming calls, like their DID phone calls and their toll-free traffic, and we set up a second provider for their outbound phone calls. So what we did then is we made sure these providers also had digital trunk failover, digital trunk overflow, like Josh mentioned earlier, so that each PRI could fail over the incoming calls to something else if that PRI were to go down. All right, so let's think of a scenario. Say a company has the need for 40 simultaneous phone calls in their office, and they currently have 2 PRIs for phone service. That makes sense because one PRI can only handle up to 23 simultaneous calls at maximum. So what we would do in that scenario is we would set up one PRI with one provider, let's call it provider A, for the incoming calls. We would then bring in a second PRI provider, let's call that provider B, for outgoing calls. And then we bring in even a third provider that would bring in analog POTS lines for a third option of backup. So the way we would set this up is provider A would handle all the incoming calls. That means provider A has all the DIDs, provider A also has all the toll-free numbers. In advance, we tell provider A that if that circuit fails over for any reason, to fail over all incoming traffic to provider B's main phone number sitting on that provider B's PRI. And then we tell provider B, if for some reason that they fail, their PRI fails, like for instance the power goes out, to automatically forward all incoming calls to the main number on the POTS lines that are set up in a hunt group. So the main lead number of those POTS lines will be the third option. Now POTS lines don't require electricity, so if the power goes out, they will still be up and running. Hopefully your phone system has some power backup, like a UPS device, that is still keeping your phone system up and running so that you will still actually receive incoming calls if the power is out or if the first two PRI providers fail for whatever reason, if their circuits go down. So that's your incoming calls. And then your phone system would be set up to pick provider B as your primary source for outgoing calls, then provider A as the secondary, and then the POTS lines for the last option. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, give us a call. We can explain it in more detail, but that's your second option for making sure you have as much uptime as possible on your ISDN PRI phone service.
Lastly, you can use advanced toll-free features to back up or provide DR or disaster recovery for your PRI. So how does it work? You must utilize a toll-free number or your main number for your business to run this application. It will not work on a local number or a DID. You need to call your provider and ask them for a feature, call failover, or call forward busy. From there, it works just like the other solution we mentioned earlier. The upsides are, it's an inexpensive option at only around $10 a month, and you can use a phone number anywhere in the US. The downsides is that you have to use a toll-free number, which means now you're paying for all incoming calls on a per minute basis. Secondly, you can only forward calls that are coming into your toll-free number. You cannot forward calls that are coming in on a DID or a local phone number. So those are the main three features for disaster recovery for PRI. You might ask which ones are the best? Well, they all work well. It more so depends on which upsides or downsides speak to your needs. For additional information on PRI voice service for your business, feel free to contact Aerocom today. With that said, have a great day.
Okay, so that's it. Those are the three best options for making sure you have as much uptime as possible with your ISDN PRI circuits. I hope that was helpful. And just as always, if you have any questions, reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer them. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. Wait! If you like the videos, there's a lot more where that came from. Just follow us on social media and make sure you get the next one. You like all of them. And also, if you want to spend a lot less time gathering cloud and telecom quotes and work with an honest and trustworthy person, make sure you find out how at aerocominc.com. Have a great day.